They called her the woman who became a man, the ruler who defied her gods and her gender, the one whose story was buried for decades because no one could quite believe it had happened. This is the story of Ahebi Ugbabe, king, chief, visionary, and the only woman in Nigeria's recorded history to hold the title of Eze. Stay with us and watch till the end as we uncover the mystery behind this great woman, who became a king out of nothing, married wives instead of husband. Is this not strange? Please don't forget to like, share and subscribe as we continue. At the turn of the 20th century, in the rolling hills of Ugbene-Ajima in Nsukka division, what is today Enugu state, a child was born who would one day upend the traditions of an entire region. Her name was Ahebi, daughter of Ugbabe. She was born around 1880, in a time when the old Igbo world still ruled itself through kinship, councils of elders, and ancestral deities, before the British marched inland from the coast. Ahebi grew up in a small farming and hunting community where gender roles were rigidly defined. Men cleared land, hunted, and sat in councils. Women farmed, traded palm oil, and raised children. Her father, Ugbabe, was a respected man, tall, confident, a local leader in the Ohib area near Igala land. But Ahebi's curiosity and sharp intelligence constantly challenged the boundaries set for her. As a young girl, she followed her father to meetings, memorizing disputes and verdicts, fascinated by the way language could wield power. She listened to tales of neighboring towns, Igalas to the north, NRI influence from the west, and the growing rumors of white men establishing trading posts along the Niger. She was clever, daring, and proud, qualities that sometimes brought her trouble. In her teenage years, around 1895, oral accounts say she mocked the masquerades, spirits that were reserved strictly for men. This act was a serious transgression. Masquerades represented ancestral power, and no woman was to imitate or speak to them directly. When the elders demanded punishment, her father could not protect her from the wrath of the community's spiritual guardians. To escape the consequences, Ahebi fled eastward, crossing the plains toward Igalaland, into what is today Kogi state. Among the Igala, she found refuge and opportunity. The Ata of Igala, the supreme ruler, governed a sophisticated kingdom tied to trade routes and the riverine economy of the lower Benue. There, Ahebi's intelligence and charm impressed the palace. She learned their language and customs, served in the court, and developed alliances with influential traders. By 1900, British colonial expansion was transforming the lower Niger. The Royal Niger Company had already subdued much of Igala territory, and British residents began imposing indirect rule through warrant chiefs. The British sought local intermediaries who could tax, recruit labor, and maintain order on their behalf. For the Ata and his sub-chiefs, this opened opportunities to influence neighboring territories like Nsukka. During her years in Igala country, Ahebi became more than a refugee, she became a cultural hybrid. She absorbed the centralized monarchical system of the Igala and contrasted it with the decentralized Igbo system she had fled. She learned how titles and tribute could legitimize authority, and how gender could be bent by power. When the death of her father reached her sometime around 1905, she made the daring decision to return home. Many thought she would be killed for defying the gods. Instead, she returned with gifts, connections, and confidence. She presented herself to the people of Ugbene-Ajima not as a repentant daughter, but as a woman transformed by the world. Her arrival coincided with the British occupation of southern Igboland. By 1908, colonial officers such as Captain C.G. Seligman and later district commissioners in Nsukka division were searching for reliable intermediaries to administer taxes and road projects. The Igbo traditional political structure lacked centralized kingship, which frustrated the British. They created the system of warrant chiefs, men appointed and issued certificates of authority. Ahebi understood this new system better than most. Using her relationship with the Ada of Igala, who was favored by the British, she secured endorsement to act as an intermediary between her hometown and the colonial officers at Ibagwa and Nsukka. Her knowledge of Igala and Igbo languages, plus her familiarity with European customs, made her invaluable. By 1910, she had effectively restored her family's prestige. She paid fines, hosted feasts, and sponsored rituals of reconciliation with her community's deities. Oral tradition holds that she offered a human sacrifice, an accepted custom at the time, to appease the spirits for mocking the masquerade years earlier. From that point, she began acting in the role of a man in public matters. Her trading ventures flourished. She dealt in palm oil, livestock, and slaves, the grim reality of that era's frontier economy. Yet her shrewdness elevated her to the level of a local notable. She sponsored young men for initiation, took titles, and gradually began to be addressed with male honorifics. The people called her Ozo Ahebi, signifying her entry into a class normally reserved for men. In 1918, after World War I, the British reorganized administration across southern Nigeria. The colonial office at Enugu sought to extend the warrant chief system deeper into rural areas. They needed someone literate, loyal, and capable of collecting taxes and enforcing colonial order. Ahebi volunteered, or perhaps maneuvered, for the position. Backed by the Ada of Igala and several sympathetic district officers, she was appointed warrant chief of Ugbene-Ajima. It was unprecedented. A woman, not only in Nsukka but across Igboland, had been made warrant chief. Many local men were furious. Yet the British valued efficiency over custom. Her rule began roughly in 1919. She dressed in male regalia, attended meetings with other chiefs, and presided over native court sessions. Her authority grew rapidly. She used her court to arbitrate disputes, collect fines, and expand her personal wealth. She commissioned a palace compound built on the hill overlooking her village, modeled loosely after the Igala royal courts she had seen. She surrounded herself with loyal attendants and armed guards, some drawn from ex-soldiers who had served as carriers in the colonial army. In her palace, she began to live as a king in every sense. She took wives, not in the sexual sense known to European marriage, but as a social and political institution recognized in Igbo society. Female husbands were not uncommon. Wealthy women without male heirs could marry wives to bear children in their name. Ahebi extended this practice on a grand scale. She married several women, providing them with sustenance and protection. To continue her lineage, she invited men of strong physique and good reputation to impregnate these wives, the children of whom were considered hers. The arrangement was both pragmatic and symbolic. It confirmed her male social status while ensuring heirs to her household. Colonial officers misunderstood these arrangements, often labeling them with crude sexual assumptions. But within the cultural framework of early 20th century Nsukka, it was a legitimate and strategic exercise of power. By 1921, Ahebi Ugbabe had become not only a chief but the de facto ruler of several neighboring communities. Her influence extended to Opi, Ohib, and parts of Edemani. She settled boundary disputes, collected tribute, and represented her region in the native court of Nsukka. Her intelligence and confidence impressed British officials such as Captain T.H.R. Pitt and District Officer A.E.R. Carpenter, who recorded her as an extraordinary woman chief. But her power also attracted jealousy. Traditional male elders resented her dominance, while some missionaries considered her rule a scandal. Yet Ahebi saw herself as modernizing her people under new colonial realities. She built roads, organized markets, and encouraged the education of children, especially girls, in mission schools. Her reign reached its zenith in 1925, when she declared herself Eze, or King, a title unprecedented for a woman in Igbo society. The coronation was elaborate. Drummers, masquerades, and emissaries from Igala came to witness it. She wore male regalia, including the red cap and eagle feather reserved for titled men, and was saluted as His Majesty Ahebi Ugbabe. It was a remarkable fusion of Igala monarchic influence and British administrative recognition. In her mind, kingship symbolized not rebellion but mastery, a way to claim the full spectrum of authority available in her world. By 1925, Ahebi Ugbabe had crossed a line no other woman in southeastern Nigeria had dared to approach. She was not merely a British-appointed warrant chief, she had proclaimed herself as Ahebi Ugbabe, King Ahebi Ugbabe of Enugu-Ezike territory. The title startled both the colonial administration and the surrounding Igbo communities. Her coronation, held at Ugbene-Ajima, was the first of its kind. Oral witnesses remembered drums beating through the night, goats and cows sacrificed, and emissaries arriving from Igala country with gifts. The rituals combined Igbo and Igala elements, the offering of kola nuts to ancestral spirits, the presentation of royal insignia, and the sprinkling of chalk for blessing. Ahebi wore male robes of authority, but also strings of coral beads and anklets, a visual declaration that she embodied both masculine and feminine power. The British district officer at Nsukka division reportedly found the spectacle curious but not threatening. For the colonial state, the priority was stability and tax revenue, not local customs. As long as Ahebi collected taxes, kept roads open, and ensured peace, her kingship was tolerated. She ruled with a mixture of charisma and calculation. Her court heard civil disputes and cases of theft, adultery, and land encroachment. Fines were paid in livestock or cowries, a portion of which she kept. Oral accounts speak of her keen sense of justice, sometimes harsh, but often fair. She believed that a ruler's legitimacy rested on maintaining order. In these years, roughly between 1925 and 1929, her influence reached its peak. Traders from distant markets came to her palace seeking protection and arbitration. She had loyal men who served as guards and envoys, and a network of wives who managed trade and domestic affairs. Her compound was alive with activity: drummers, petitioners, court clerks, and interpreters who worked with the colonial office. Her interactions with the British were complex. She mastered the colonial etiquette, hosting district officers, providing guides, and sometimes joining inspection tours. She gave the impression of loyalty but never submission. Her English was limited, but she commanded interpreters who conveyed her orders with authority. Around 1926, Ahebi accompanied other warrant chiefs to Enugu for a regional conference. For the first time, she was photographed in the company of male chiefs, wearing her red cap and holding a staff of office. Those who saw the photograph later said it stunned even educated Africans in Lagos when it appeared in a colonial exhibit, a woman dressed as a man, a king among chiefs. Her reign, however, carried within it the seeds of downfall. The warrant chief system itself was unstable. Many communities despised it because it imposed leaders without popular consent. Ahebi's power, while supported by colonial rule, depended on the same fragile structure. She began to stretch her authority beyond what even the British intended. She demanded tribute from surrounding villages that had never been under her jurisdiction. She appointed her own messengers to collect taxes directly, bypassing the colonial treasury. Some district officers admired her efficiency, others warned she was overstepping. Locally, resentment grew. The male elders of Ugbene-Ajima and neighboring communities saw her actions as sacrilegious. They argued that kingship in Igbo society was never absolute and that no woman could sit atop the ancestral hierarchy. They whispered that she had used forbidden charms to bend men to her will. Her greatest test came with the arrival of new British officers who were less tolerant of local improvisation. In 1928, a reorganization placed Nsukka division under stricter supervision from Enugu. The new district officer, Captain R.C. Meek, a trained anthropologist, was fascinated but also skeptical of Ahebi's power. Meek's later ethnographic reports describe her as the only female chief of record, an individual of remarkable vigor and ambition. But to Meek, her kingship symbolized excess. He began investigating complaints from local men that Ahebi's court had imposed unlawful fines and that she compelled forced labor beyond official limits. One allegation claimed she had ordered men to work on her personal farms under the guise of colonial road duty. Meanwhile, Ahebi's personal life continued to provoke gossip. Her household of wives and the system by which men were invited to impregnate them were misunderstood by outsiders. To the Igbo, these arrangements were practical lineage-building strategies. A wealthy woman could become a female husband, with the children legally hers. But to the British, it looked like moral chaos. Missionaries described her as a woman of strange habits and heathen power. Despite this, she remained respected by many locals who benefited from her administration. Market women found in her a protector against extortion. Young men sought her favor for trade opportunities. Her ability to navigate gender roles made her both feared and admired. In 1929, a year that would shake colonial Nigeria, the Aba Women's War erupted in southeastern provinces when women protested against taxation and the abuse of warrant chiefs. Although Nsukka was not a central site of the uprising, the movement changed British attitudes toward indirect rule. The colonial government began to question the legitimacy of many warrant chiefs, fearing widespread rebellion. For Ahebi, this shift proved disastrous. Her enemies, local men who despised her kingship, seized the moment. They petitioned the colonial office, accusing her of extortion, corruption, and blasphemy. They claimed she had performed rituals reserved for men and had forced women to dance naked before masquerades, acts seen as sacrilegious. In 1930, she was summoned before the district court at Nsukka. It was not a trial in the modern sense but a public hearing before British officers and local chiefs. Witnesses came forward, some loyal, others vindictive. Meek and other administrators recorded the proceedings, noting her composure and eloquence. She defended her rule as service to both the British Crown and her people. But the decision had already been made. The British, eager to restore calm and limit warrant chief power, stripped her of her authority. Her warrant certificate was revoked, her court dissolved, and her kingship declared invalid. It was the end of an era. Ahebi Ugbabe returned to her palace at Ugbene-Ajima, now merely a private citizen. Yet even in retirement, she retained influence. People continued to visit her for advice and arbitration. She kept her wives, her titles, and her dignity. Her relationship with the British never fully severed. Some district officers still visited her as a curiosity, seeking her recollections of early colonial days. Anthropologists recorded her stories, fascinated by her memory and intelligence. She lived quietly through the 1930s, watching the slow transformation of colonial rule and the spread of mission schools. She had become both legend and cautionary tale, a symbol of ambition that exceeded the limits of custom. By 1945, her health declined. Oral tradition says she foresaw her death and ordered that she be buried not as a woman but as a man. She instructed her attendants to perform the masculine burial rites of an ease, the gun salutes, the breaking of coconuts, the masquerade dances. When she died, sometime between 1945 and 1948, these wishes were carried out. Her grave at Ugbene-Ajima was marked with masculine insignia, a staff of office and red cap, so that her spirit would rest among the kings. When Ahebi Ugbabe's body was laid to rest at Ugbene-Ajima in the mid-1940s, few realized that the earth was covering one of the most extraordinary figures of 20th century African history. For decades, her name lingered only in local memory, half in reverence, half in warning. Some called her the woman who became king, others called her the woman who angered the gods. Her burial itself defied every rule of gender in Igbo tradition. Men's funerals and women's funerals were entirely distinct ceremonies. Men were buried with gunfire, oaths, and masquerades, women with lamentations and songs. Ahebi commanded that her burial follow the masculine order. The villagers carried out her wishes, fearing that failure might bring her spirit's wrath. She was buried like an ease, a ruler among men, a woman who had claimed the authority of both worlds. After her death, her household began to fade. The wives she had married dispersed, some returning to their natal families, others raising children who still called Ahebi their father. Her palace, once bustling with attendants and court messengers, fell into quiet disrepair. But her story continued to echo in the region, whispered among elders as a lesson about ambition, gender, and the changing world brought by colonialism. In the 1950s and 1960s, as Nigeria moved toward independence, the memory of the warrant chiefs was not fondly kept. Many were remembered as instruments of British exploitation. Yet Ahebi's case was different. For some, she represented collaboration, for others, resistance. She had played the colonial system to her own advantage, manipulating it in a way few men could. By the time Nigeria gained independence in 1960, few written records of her reign remained outside scattered colonial reports in Enugu and London archives. Her story might have remained buried there, had it not been for scholars who stumbled upon her name decades later. In 1989, a young Nigerian anthropologist named Ahebi Ugbabe published Male Daughters, Female Husbands, exploring how women in Igbo society could take on male social roles. Though she did not yet write about Ahebi directly, her research laid the foundation for understanding figures like her. Then, in the late 1990s, another Nigerian scholar, Professor Nwando Achebe, daughter of the novelist Chinua Achebe, began tracing oral traditions in Nsukka division. She listened to elderly women and men in Ugbene-Ajima, Ohib, and Opi, who still remembered fragments of the woman who ruled as king. From their stories and colonial archives, she reconstructed the lost narrative of Ahebi Ugbabe. Achebe's groundbreaking biography, The Female King of Colonial Nigeria, published in 2011, brought Ahebi's story to global attention. For the first time, the fragments, oral testimonies, court records, colonial reports, were woven into a coherent life story. The result astonished historians. Through these sources, a more complex Ahebi emerged, not a caricature or a mythic figure, but a human being who navigated the impossible contradictions of her age. She was neither saint nor villain. She was ambitious, intelligent, and deeply political. She understood power as performance. To rule men, she had to become one in the public eye. Yet she never denied her womanhood, she simply expanded what it meant. Ahebi's reign can only be understood within the larger context of early 20th century colonialism. The British system of indirect rule relied on pre-existing hierarchies, but in Igboland those hierarchies were diffuse. The warrant chief system distorted traditional governance and empowered individuals beyond communal limits. Ahebi exploited that distortion, using colonial legitimacy to reshape gender boundaries that had seemed immovable. Her ability to marry wives and claim their children as her own did not originate from colonial influence, it came from pre-colonial Igbo custom. Yet colonial structures magnified her reach, allowing her to project male authority far beyond traditional limits. Her story thus became a case study of how African women negotiated modernity, patriarchy, and foreign domination all at once. The British misunderstood her not because of ignorance alone, but because her very existence defied their categories. To them, power was gendered, a ruler was male by definition. Ahebi's court confused their reports. Some officers referred to her as he, others as she. In correspondence between Nsukka and Enugu, officials debated how to describe her in English. One report simply called her a woman of remarkable capacity, who rules as a man. Her downfall, too, reflected the contradictions of colonial governance. When the British turned against warrant chiefs after the ABA Women's War, she became an easy target. Yet her removal did not erase her influence. Oral accounts suggest that even after her deposition, men sought her blessing before taking oaths, and women invoked her name in disputes about marriage and inheritance. In the decades after her death, she became a legend told differently by different groups. Some storytellers cast her as a tragic hero who dared too much and was punished by gods and men alike. Others saw her as a visionary who glimpsed a future of gender equality long before the concept had a name. In Enugu State today, the people of Ugbene-Ajima still recall her name during festivals and gatherings. Her grave remains a quiet site of memory, though few outsiders know its location. Elders say her spirit is restless, wandering between the worlds of men and women, rulers and ruled. To modern historians, Ahebi Ugbabe stands as a symbol of resistance and adaptation. She lived at the intersection of three worlds: the indigenous order of Igboland, the monarchical structure of Igala influence, and the alien bureaucracy of British colonial rule. Within that triad, she carved out a space that no one had imagined possible. Her life challenges every simple narrative about power and gender. She was not a victim of patriarchy alone, nor simply a collaborator with colonialism. She was a strategist, someone who used every system available to her to claim dignity and autonomy. It is tempting to read her story as a feminist parable, but that would be anachronistic. Ahebi did not fight for gender equality in the modern sense. She fought for self-determination, for the right to define herself beyond the categories imposed by both her people and her colonizers. If you have watched till this point, comment Ahebi the Great. We continue. Later on, story also invites reflection on how history remembers, or forgets, those who do not fit neatly into its boxes. For nearly half a century, her name was absent from textbooks and archives, surviving only in whispers. It took a new generation of scholars, especially Nigerian women historians, to recover her voice and place it back into the record. Today, in the 21st century, Ahebi Ugbabe is studied not only in Nigerian history but also in global discussions of gender and colonialism. Her life has been cited in universities across Africa, Europe, and America as one of the rare examples of a woman who became both a colonial ruler and an indigenous monarch. From a young girl who mocked the masquerade in 1895, to a refugee in Igala court, to the first and only female warrant chief and king in British Nigeria, Ahebi's journey spans the collision of two worlds. Her life reminds us that history is not always written by those who fit its norms, but by those who dared to break them. In the end, the legend of Ahebi Ugbabe is not about gender alone. It is about power, courage, and the human will to redefine boundaries. She lived and ruled in a time when a woman could not sit in council, could not speak to masquerades, could not collect tribute, could not be king. Yet she did all these things, and for a brief, shining moment in the heart of colonial Nigeria, she ruled as Ahebi Ugbabe, the female king of Ugbene-Ajima. Her name remains a whisper across Nsukka's hills, a name that refuses to be forgotten. And so, when we speak of the forgotten histories of Africa, let us remember her, the woman who became a king, the ruler who defied tradition and empire alike, and whose life, once erased, now stands as testimony to what it means to rewrite one's destiny. Stay turned and connected to this channel. And if you want more video like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button now, because it helps the channel grow and you get more content like this in the near future. Don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments section, and if you have any topic you want us to visit or talk about, don't hesitate to let us know. Peace and love to you all.